MSC Cruise Cast is a Triple T production. Now, the Taste, Try, Travel team of Beth and Chris.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
And thank you to Charles, our announcer.
Oh, okay.
Came in this week just to do some voiceovers for us.
Happy Saturday morning, everybody, here on our
Triple T weekend.
Triple T weekends. So
Triple T all day, all that's weekend, 24 hours a day.
That's too much.
That is too much. I wouldn't even watch us for 24 hours.
Welcome to this week's podcast, where we talk all things MSC, good, bad, everything in between.
And there's a lot that falls in between those two.
And there is bad, and there is those in between. So, all right, what do we have on the plans straight into today?
What is on the docket?
What do we got?
We've got a little bit of a shout out.
Mm-hmm. Is that me?
No.
Oh.
Are you doing the shout out?
Go for it.
Well, and we got some updates.
Yep.
Some life /
channel
Triple T updates.
Yep.
And I tell you what, there's a lot of MSC hate in the world, or at least there was.
There has been. There was.
Is it over?
We're going to talk about it.
It was all the rage for a while.
It was.
Is that coming to an end? All right. So, our first one, our shout out. We are going to acknowledge our Patreon folks.
Absolutely.
We are shouting them out, representing.
We've got a number Patreon. Of you now, so
we just want to thank them. They kind of stick with us through thick and thin. Mm-hmm. When the hurricane came in and knocked us,
shut us down
off
for a while.
Exactly. Knocked us off the air for a month or so.
Yeah.
They were right there. They're the OGs of supporting us. I mean, we appreciate everybody, obviously, but those guys really how do I say it? They're the super supporters. The super supporters.
Well, it's also like really nice too, is we're kind of planning on going what we're going to do on World America to kind of have that extra money to do extra fun things. So thank you for that. So it just makes the videos that we do just a little bit better.
Yeah. And to thank them, we send to our Grand Globetrotters, mm-hmm. which is our highest tier. Mm-hmm. Every 3 months, we send them our Sticker of the Month Club.
Yep. And basically, Patreon is just a membership where people can just
know what that is.
Just a very small. We just do very small, $3, $5, and $13 a month, and it just goes towards all of our travel. So, if you wanted to know what it is, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a little way to say
we're not real good at promoting ourselves.
No, it always sounds weird when I do it.
It always feels weird.
But I just wanted to say, now that we mentioned the stickers, mm-hmm. that I came up with another design that's going to be an exclusive sticker.
I love this sticker.
It is.
While Chris has some technical difficulties.
I put that right there. There we go.
We have a brand new, beautiful sticker representing Ocean K. And this is going to be something that we only give when we see you on the ships, because it's so fun to meet you guys and to have those conversations.
It only if you see us on Ocean K?
No.
Okay.
That's a little,
because we might be in the water. We can't.
Hey.
Hold on. Let me get this dry bag.
And there actually really nice stickers. They're like not like cheap. So they're like nice vinyl, and they're kind of soft on the top. And I don't know how you guys think, but kind of like matte, yeah. It just is a fun little souvenir to bring, and they're kind of limited editions. So
very limited.
They're fun.
Yeah, these right here are super limited.
It was a sale.
Exactly.
We only got a certain number.
We got a certain number on sale, but they really are nice quality.
Yeah.
We get the UV ink that's on there, so it'll survive outside for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not going to last for 50 years outside, but it'll last a while outside. So if you put it on like your window, I don't know, on your car, if you got like a car that you put stickers on, or I don't know what
wherever
you do with that. Put it on your hose. I would stick it on your hose outside. I was just thinking of something that's always outside.
What else?
Like you never bring a hose inside.
You never bring it. What other stickers do we have? Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. I'm so sorry.
What other stickers do we have?
Yeah.
We're going to have 2 more exclusive stickers on the inaugural.
So I'm going to have like this bag and just like constantly carry stickers with me.
We have one for the ship. That's the inaugural of the ship. It's actually kind of
like a dead front.
Yeah. And then we have, of course,
our steampunk
Humpty Dumpty that we will have on that ship too. So if you see us, you might get loaded up with. I mean, if you say you want them, we'll give them to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Were we going to talk about anything else during their shout out? I can't remember now.
Nope.
That was it?
Well, right. I think the only other thing you were going to mention was the group cruise still has cabins available.
That's right. Because not only are we going on the World America, the inaugural, but we have a group cruise where everybody is going to get together on there in the triple T weirdness that we like to have on a group cruise. And that's going to be in October.
October 18th, yep.
I think I have
and we'll link that group cruise information to maybe one of our updates too. While he's looking for that.
There it is.
You see it?
Yep. Oh, it's tiny. That was underwhelming. Well, get out your magnifying glasses and walk up to the screen, or
it's on our social media. If you're looking at it on
your phone, pinch and pull.
The other thing I was going to mention, I know we're kind of throwing a bunch in this little shout out, but before we kind of get into the meat of our podcast, we have, as usual, come up with a crazy fun idea for our bar crawl on the inaugural World America. And if all goes well, it's going to be on the group cruise too. So I'm super excited about it.
If you guys watch the channel often,
and you know I always do something crazy.
Beth always likes to come up with something wild. Preferably to embarrass me, but it doesn't have to be.
It's not this time.
No, this time it's not. It's not to embarrass Chris.
It's going to be so fun. So,
and you have picked out something that is going to be. It's going to highly original and fun.
Yep.
So.
We're not going to give you any teasers because we're going to wait until.
Well, those were teasers. We're not going to give you any info on that.
You're going to have to watch, which I know you will, because everyone's going to be interested in the new ship. So
exactly.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the triple T updates. So, number 1, the website is not live.
Getting closer.
Working on the designs. There's a little sneak peek.
Chris learned that there's a little bit of a learning curve to creating your own. On top of all of his stuff that he does with creating graphics and does our videos, he's now learning how to build a website. So kudos to you.
I did one other website, which was 20 years ago.
Yeah, things have changed.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And it was the goofiest, most amateur website in the world. It was just,
Well,
nothing like a modern website.
We're trying to look professional.
But I am looking. This will be up, by the way, in next few weeks.
Yeah.
I got to put a time frame on it because, like you said, it is a learning curve, and I'm still figuring everything out. But it's getting closer and closer and closer. So maybe in the next few weeks, somewhere around there. But as I'm looking at this, Beth, I get out my glasses. As I'm looking at this, I see a couple things on here that stand out.
What stands out?
What is this book your cruise button? There's a couple buttons on here that say book your cruise. What?
Well, we're going to probably give you just a little teaser now. We'll tell you more probably the next podcast. But as we talked about the beginning of the year, when we started talking about the beginning of this year, 2025, we are continuing to build and grow and find new ways to kind of expand Triple T. And so we've been thinking about it for a while, but we are shortly going to offer travel agent services. So you will be able to utilize all of our knowledge and all of our experience, and we will be able to help you book Yacht Club, MSC, or really any cruise, but really kind of focusing on Yacht Club. So if you're ever like not sure or you have questions, we're going to be the place where you can go for everything. So total one stop. And that's going to go along with the website where we're really trying to have a place. What?
I'm laughing because when we were talking about our cruise cast beforehand, a little production behind the scenes, you're like, I'm not giving out any information.
But
and
now
you're like completely spilling the beans on everything. Like this was just supposed to be like a teaser. And then next week you were going to get into everything.
Kind of a teaser.
Like, here you go.
But we really want the website to be a place where you can go to find information and be a resource to you for your travel. Because ultimately, I think Chris and I want to just, whatever we're doing, put something fun out there and a little informative and somehow just make your vacation better. So however we can do that.
Exactly. That's our purpose behind every single thing we do. Fun.
Yep.
More important than anything, fun.
Yeah.
I know there's people that want to do that want informative stuff.
Yeah.
They probably don't stick around on our channel very long.
Nope.
Because above all, we like to have a great time in life.
It's the only purpose of going on vacation and enjoying life is to, exactly.
So fun. And we're going to throw some information in there.
Yep.
We'll try to be creative in how we give it to you. So it fits into the funness of life and enjoying cruising. So
look for more information in the next podcast, I guess. Whatever more information I got. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always do this to him.
You kind of spilled the beans on that one.
Yep.
Okay. So let's move on to MSC Hate. When we started
2022.
When we started thinking about going on MSC.
Which would probably been mid 2021.
We kind of, like probably everybody else, we looked on YouTube for some videos and get an idea. And we saw all sorts
So Chris is posting
of
just
horrible things.
Yeah, some YouTube
videos.
Yeah, videos that were out at the time.
They're just like, it's the worst. We'll never go on this cruise line again. How it's just terrible. That was all over.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was like 80-20. And the 20% wasn't like praising MSC. It was like, we went on MSC.
Yeah.
And then 80% was like, we had a terrible time. They're a terrible
People were very
cruise line.
vocal about it. Yeah.
And so
that's really all you saw on YouTube were just negative reviews. And there weren't a whole lot, to be honest. It wasn't like,
No.
you know.
Exactly. MSC really wasn't like,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of videos for MSC out there.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the ones that were
pretty
incredibly negative. And so we were like,
we said no.
yeah, well, for like a year, we were like, no, we don't want to go on MSC. But we finally,
the price did it, I think. Really
and truly, yeah. We were like, it's such a good deal. Let's go on it and see.
And maybe you'll make a good video.
Exactly. If our videos end up being us having a bad time, well, then that's what it is, because we always want to just show you guys exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And so we booked the Seashore was our first MSC cruise. And we were really apprehensive about booking it because it was just so much negativity out there.
Well, and also you couldn't really find a lot of information. I know there's a lot of like cruise critic boards now. So if you're really looking at anything on any cruise line, a lot of times you can, just go online and get so much information. And there wasn't a lot of information out there. So that in itself kind of lended a little bit to some apprehension also.
Yeah, right. The information that you could find about MSC was, you're probably going to have a terrible time.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, that was predominant in the cruise community.
Right.
And I'm kind of a little bit surprised that MSC grew, because
I know the reason why, and when you're done, I'll go over that.
Because if people are searching for information on the cruise, if people were searching back then for information on MSC, they were getting a lot of negativity.
Right. And
I remember reading people booked it and they were really, really nervous. Like there were a lot of questions. Like, I booked, am I going to regret this?
Right. Right.
Should I switch to another line now that I booked this? Because I'm reading so much. So I'm kind of surprised that MSC took off, but I'm not surprised because the people that pushed through that and said, I'm going to find out for myself what it's like, found out not only is it not terrible,
it's pretty darn nice.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
In fact, there are things about MSC that outshine every other cruise line that we've been on.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that it took off in that respect. So what were you gonna say that it's why it survived and has now thrived?
Part of what I wanted to share is I want to take us back just a little bit to give you some of the history and the timeline.
Let's see how it got to that point.
Rewind. So I think for a while, MSC tested the waters by sending some of their ships. The first ship that ever was MSC that came over was the MSC Melody. No, she's no longer around. She was a ship built in 1980. I'm just going to give you a little information on the very first one. I'm not going to go like crazy detail, but...
Can I just say real quick before you get into the information? The reason that it's not around anymore is because there was so much negativity. Like, they reinstalled cannons at the port of Miami and sank it.
It's actually really funny that you said that. Wow. And I'll tell you why in a second.
Why? Is that true? Is that...
No, but it's just, I'll tell you in a second.
Um,
She was built back in 1982. So if you can imagine, like, literally like the Princess Love boat that was on the TV shows, kind of that small, funky little cruise ship.
Amore.
Thank you. So she was bought by MSC back in 1997. I can't read my writing. 1997. And she first came to North America in 2009. Oh, I apologize. 2002. The reason I have 2009 on there is because she actually survived a pirate attack in the Seychelles.
Right on, there we go. Yeah, they heard about it in the Seychelles and were like, we have to sink the ship. They're they're so terrible. Have you seen those reviews on YouTube?
Exactly.
Sink that ship. Take it over and sink it.
And then she ended up sinking during a storm kind of at her berth. So, not a great start. MSC had already sold the ship by then. I think MSC sold it in 2009. That's where that is. So she ended up sinking, so she's not around anymore. But that was kind of MSC's first venture. Now, a couple other ships kind of started dipping their toe in the water over here in North America before they really designated a ship here full time. So the Orchestra kind of did some cruises around here in 2008. The Poesa was around and started in 2009. Lyrica started about 2006, and Opera did a couple in 2006. So some of them were transatlantic, some were just for a season, but they were never full time. So the Divina was the first MSC ship sent over and was here. This is our U.S. ship. And so 2013 is really when MSC kind of started. So again, just cruising out of Florida. And we know someone who kind of did the Divina pretty early on. And she really liked it. And she was the one who told us, no, you got to go. But even when Divina was here, it was still very European. So the food was a little different, is not the MSC we know today.
Well, I was just about to say, when we started, it was still very European.
Absolutely.
We have seen massive Americanization of the practices on the ship.
Yep. And we're going to talk about some of those kind of towards, in just a little bit, because we're going to talk about what kind of has changed.
So I can't imagine back in 2013, did they even speak English on the ship? But I wanted to, I was reading some, because it's really hard to find a lot of this information online. And so I was looking through some boards and forums and stuff like that to try to see when people first. And that's kind of how I got these ideas of when these other ships, because there's not a lot of history about it from MSC. And there was one person, their little tagline or whatever their name is Ship Geeks. And he actually wrote a journal of his time back on one of these earlier ships. And one of them basically said it was so funny because he's like, you knew that pretty much everyone on the ship was European. How did you know that? Do you know? Well,
how do you know people are from Europe when they're on a cruise ship?
They wear a Speedo when they're at the
That's exactly
pool.
what he said. And that's from his journal, so many years ago, that there's just guys wearing Speedos everywhere. And it's still true today. You can still see that on MSC versus other ships.
European, not European. European,
exactly.
Not European. Oh, very European.
Exactly. So I just thought I would mention that. So the reason, so let me say this real quick, going to answer your thing. The reason MSC took off, I think, ultimately here in the US is probably not because of Americans. It was all of the Europeans flying over from Europe and going on a very familiar cruise. Just like if we want to end up going to Norway, it's easy to pick a princess or something that's we're familiar with.
We know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's like a comfortableness.
Yeah.
When you're used to something and it's over there, you're like, oh, I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
So I think that's the majority. I think it was like 80% Europeans, 20% Americans that were kind of on these ships in the early, time that Davina was here. Seaside was the very first ship built kind of for the American market. So it was built for a very hot climate, I guess, the way the ship is built. And so all the Seaside classes. So that first was built in 2017. That was Seaside. Then Seaview came out in 2018. Seashore came out in 21, and then Seascape in 2022. Now we were on Seashore in 2022.
Early 2020. It was just like...
It was different ship.
6 months old?
Yeah.
5 months old?
Than we see now.
Oh. It was...
Yeah.
It was very European.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Everything. And I think they had started transitioning and maybe taken some of the feedback, maybe from some of these people who said, oh, so horrible, whatever. I'm sure they listened to some of that and then started really Americanizing themselves on those ships.
Can I just say real quick? I think, as we've said many times before, one of the wonderful things about MSC is they're able to implement changes quickly.
Yeah.
And I think when 21 is, I think when 21, 20, early 22, when we started in there, was when a few more Americans were starting to get on the ships.
Yep.
And Americans are pretty vocal about
what they like
and don't like.
Yeah.
And we saw things right away. Well, but yeah,
we're not even going to talk about the port. Like once we were on the ship, like that first day was hard. We literally said to each other, I don't even think we can make video. Like, I don't even think we are going to enjoy this. Remember that first day?
Well, not even before the ship.
Well, I was not talking too much about the port.
I know, but I'm just saying it was just massive lines. I don't know if that happens in Europe or if it was just because I don't know what the reason was back then.
I think it was probably just the construction because it's gotten better since then.
Well, there was nothing under construction on our first one, was there?
Yeah, the port was under construction.
Oh, was it? Mm-hmm. I don't remember that. Anyway, it was such massive...
That's why he keeps me around.
It was such massive lines that even before getting on the ship, we're like, MSC, you can't do this. Yeah. We won't stand for this. You show up at the port and then 4 hours later you're getting on the ship and you've been standing in a line for 4 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't not the way to start a vacation.
But it was 2 hours of standing in a line.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, we gotta go to the waiting area and then you gotta wait to get on. It wasn't that. You were in a line.
Yeah.
And then you were in another line and then you were in another line for 2 hours straight. Right. And so before you even get on the ship, we're like, this is a bad taste in our mouth. Mm-hmm. I think it's our first and last MSC
That's
cruise.
Exactly what we said.
And we got on the ship and it didn't get a whole lot better right away.
Right.
So I just remember, and this has gotten better. They keep refining it a little bit better. I remember trying to hook up to the internet. That first time. I forgot to write that
on my list, but things like that.
When we got on the ship.
If you've been on MSC like in the last year or so, you have no idea the struggle. The basic struggle of just getting something like that.
Back when we were kids.
Exactly.
They whipped you. If you even mentioned the internet, they brought out some whips and started beating you. You had to fight through that in order to hook up to the internet. It was such a bizarre chain of things you had to do to hook up to the internet, like 18 steps.
And then one of them was just the European way of writing the date, where the day comes and then the month and then the year. It's kind of opposite about how we do it. So I think that's changed. I think it wasn't like that at the beginning. But And I think a lot also that had to do early on is MSC never really advertised. They didn't advertise to the US market.
No.
And still to this day, a lot of people don't even know who MSC is.
Well, they just started advertising.
That is the biggest advertisement push that they've done. And and we'll talk about that a little bit later as we kind of get to the good and the bad. But the Super Bowl commercial that just came out in 2025 for the World America, that is the biggest, we see the commercial all the time now. So, but other than that, not even a bunch of people knew about, or don't even know still about a cruise line called MSC, you know?
Yeah. So I can kind of relate slightly to everybody when they got on the ship back then and they had a bad experience because our first 12 hours of experiencing MSC was like, I don't think I'm gonna be doing this anymore. But here's a life lesson to everyone.
Yeah.
Things change. Don't focus on the bad stuff.
Yeah.
If we had just let that ruin the rest of our cruise, we wouldn't have these awesome experiences on MSC.
Yeah.
After that first few hiccups of getting on the ship, we had a tremendous time. So much so that we now have this
we're here now
podcast
exactly
that is dedicated just to MSC.
Yeah.
That's how much it changed. So, know what? I'm just saying, back then, I understand that where people got some impressions of MSC being horrible, but I also understand people's nature. It's like in our nature that if something goes wrong, we want to pout. We want to be upset about it for hours and days and weeks and just complain.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. If you find yourself doing that,
take a breath.
Exactly. Have your wife or your husband
smack you
and say, hey, we're going to have a good time. That's just one little thing.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, I also think there was just simply a misunderstanding early on. And it wasn't necessarily that MSC did horrible things. They just did things different and we didn't understand. And so when that understanding wasn't there, that's when the frustration came in. So even something like every other cruise line, you when you check in, you give your credit card, right? MSC, you still don't. You go on the ship and there's a little looking like ATM machine that you do their credit cards there. So you do it once. So even those little things, it's not necessarily a bad way that they do it. It's just different. And so we still like to tell people, just have an open mind because MSC still is not completely like the other big three cruise lines. So you have to go into it with that openness of being able to just be a little flexible, and it's not going to be Carnival and it's not going to be Princess, it's not going to be those other cruise lines. It has its own unique flavor and you got to be able to just figure it out and then go with the flow.
If you see niçoise salad on the menu, don't be mad that you have no idea what a niçoise salad is. Order it. You will enjoy it.
Maybe.
It's delicious.
So we want to kind of just talk a little bit about what is still good about MSC as it's kind of made that transition from kind of dipping its toes in the US market to giving us to the Divina for a little bit and then waiting and then building ships just for America. And now there's going to be a world-class ship just built for America. So they've kind of had this 15-year span. I did the math in my head real quick. What is still good about MSC and what are some of the things and the flavors that they've lost becoming Americanized?
Well, you're throwing stuff out there that I didn't know we were going to.
Do you want me to talk a couple about it and then you can throw in?
Well, sure. I can think of one thing right off the bat.
Which is good or bad?
Good.
Okay. Let's talk about good first.
Okay. The food.
Absolutely.
It still baffles me when I see people complaining about MSC food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It has to be. It has to be. Just that week, the head chef was in hospital. He's in hospital.
He's in medical.
Medical. That was it. Medical. He's medical.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple of things in all the MSC cruises we've been on.
Yeah.
Couple of dishes where I was like, this isn't that great.
Yeah. But nothing bad. I've never eaten anything bad. Unlike some other cruise lines where we've been like, oh. You want to know the worst?
What?
Do you remember the soup that we had on Celebrity?
Oh my goodness. We were just talking about that. Out of all the cruise lines, this was the worst thing we've ever had was on Celebrity, which is known for having great
food. It had really good food.
That soup
it was chicken noodle soup. It was labeled, but it was beef broth.
Yep.
With end pieces of random noodles in it. Like some little spaghetti, some were like flat, some were macaroni. Chunks of chicken that were hard as a rock.
And
salty.
I was going to say, here was their recipe. 1 part water, 1 part salt.
Exactly.
They just poured it in equal amounts.
We think that soup was made for maybe like the crew down there and accidentally got put upstairs.
I think it was some sort of disinfecting brine.
Anyway, we don't go too far, but we've had a couple bad things and we've never had that on MSC.
I thought you were going to say, just real quick, because I don't want to stray too far from MSC. That's why we're here, to talk about MSC. But on the Carnival Sunshine, their buffet, which was 12 things, and then
repeated 3 times.
Exactly. That was a little rough. That was the worst, most bizarre buffet we've ever seen.
We never ate at that buffet. We looked at it. No.
So my choices are, I can have chicken, something really weird little chicken, or if I go over to the next island, it's the same chicken. And then if I go to it's the same chicken. All right. So anyway, yes.
So how someone can go on MSC and come off saying, "Oh, that food was horrible." I don't believe it. I mean,
well, I might believe it, but we've never had that experience ever. It's we've had the exact opposite where we're like, this is really good, especially for like a main dining room, where it seems like quality on a lot of cruise lines is just tanking in the main dining room. MSC is that MDR really good.
To brunch. That was so good.
Yes, it's really, really good.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to say really good prices. MSC's gone up a little bit. They've gone up some, but ultimately they are still so much cheaper than the other cruise lines. And they started out when we went, what did we pay? Like $800 for like both of us. It was something crazy. We got a drink package and everything.
Wi-Fi.
So right out of COVID, the prices were really, really cheap. They have gone up, but they are still way, way less.
And sorry, I don't know, you're probably going to say this, but for their yacht club,
I was going to, go ahead.
It's uncomparable to anything else.
MSC brought us Yacht Club. So MSC introduced what the Aponte family thinks as luxury on these ships, and no other cruise line in America has anything close. You can say Haven is close, but it's not the same concept. You got things that are quite separated, and you don't have that like totally all-encompassing experience. So
no, and
kudos to MSC for bringing that experience and introducing it to us.
Can I just say, it is such a hit that
if you start reading what other cruise lines are doing, they're starting to try to copy the yacht club.
Yep.
Because it is, I hope it stays this way, a unique experience at cruising.
Yeah.
And not only unique, which I love.
Yeah.
Which we love.
Yeah. But
the best way to cruise too.
The best way to cruise, and actually it's with the bidding program, it actually makes that kind of luxury affordable for people like us who we don't have $6,000 to spend on one cruise. Like we just don't have that. So it gives us the opportunity to bid and get a chance to experience that. So many people have gotten a chance to experience Yacht Club who never would have been able to afford it. And now they're hooked, and now they make a way to afford that, right? So
I remember when we were getting off of I think it was Maravilia, and we were at the rental car picking up our rental car after the cruise, and there were people there. We were talking, we had made friends, and they were at the same rental car, and then there were people there that weren't in the yacht club but heard us talking and asked our friends, is it worth yacht club? And they couldn't say yes fast enough.
Exactly. I don't think if you traveled yacht club, you kind of are in that club where you understand what it's like.
Exactly. It's
another good
so
thing.
Unique that it's you can't compare it when you're telling somebody what it's like. You can't compare it to anything. Yeah. So it's tough to tell people exactly what the experience is.
How are we doing on time?
Let's see. We are at 41 minutes.
Another great thing Chris mentioned earlier, and I think is such a great illustration of how they listen and understand. They were, I don't know if they were the first, but they were one of the first that transitioned to the muster drill, the new muster drill system. I read somewhere where Disney still does the old way and everybody hates it. Like after you've done the new, I don't 100% don't know if that's right, but I read that somewhere. But once you've done this and you just like get it done and over with and go start enjoying your vacation. So we love that like transition of finding ways to make the experience better. I think MSC continues to do fantastic parties. Right? So they bring the white night, they have all the different kinds of parties, and they do it so freaking well.
Yes. I would say that's something that I don't know if they brought from Europe, but it seems to be it
still has a very European where they start late, right? They start at like 10 o'clock at night. Very un-American, at least for like people our age. Like that's the time you're like winding down. No, it's vacation. Get out and party.
Speak for yourself. It seems that all the non-Americans that are on the ship they are waiting for that party to start.
Absolutely. They'll start a party early.
And once it starts, they are having the time of their life.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to badmouth Carnival again, but Carnival they get their people, they get their staff, get the guests involved
during the day.
But it seems like it's more alcohol fueled lots of times on Carnival than it is on MSC, where it's just fun fueled.
You dance, you dress up and you dance, you have that fun.
Exactly.
That kind
you
of
sing, you all gather together and you have a drink and just have a good time. So
kind of blending or kind of leading from what you just said. The next one that I have on my good list is the multicultural guests. Has always been such a huge, awesome part of MSC. And it was funny because
one of my favorite parts of MSC.
Because there's still people that come from all over the world and will cruise on MSC in the US. We were sitting at having margaritas at the taco place. Hola Tacos. On the Seascape. And the bartender was fantastic. He's like, hey, where are you from? And we said, North Carolina. And he points to the guys next to us and said, hey, they're from Brazil. Now you guys know each other. And then we started talking. We just like randomly talked about to this family that was from Brazil. So I just think I love that there's so many different people, and now it's quite changed a bit. When we were on the Seascape, or when we were on Seashore originally, we were in the dining room. We were the only English speaking people in like the whole area. Like no one spoke English. It's changed a bit. We did not hear
anybody else speaking English.
Yeah.
So
it's changed quite a bit, but there still is that. I mean, there definitely still have people from Europe come in, and they still have that flair of.
Exactly. Not only is it, like you said, great to meet people from around the world and just talk to them, just even if it's just for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But when you get on the ship, you almost feel like you're going someplace other than the Caribbean again.
Right.
On a cruise.
Right.
Like, oh, we're going to the Caribbean again.
Yeah.
Like you almost feel like you're like somewhere in the Mediterranean maybe, or the Baltic, because there's so many like Eastern European or Russian people on board. Or so it's.
And I know a lot of people early on thought that was a bad thing. So we just never saw that as a bad thing, that there was that. I don't know.
Not at all.
Restaurant parties, multicultural.
Got some stuff written down still?
Well, the last thing I kind of had on my list, I'm sure we're forgetting something, but they are bringing more ships. So I think that they've kind of have a foothold here, and now they're here and they're growing, right? So they're constantly bringing more ships. They're expanding to Galveston. They're expanding to Alaska. So now we get a chance to experience what we like about MSC in different ports than just Florida, right? So going out of New York is a fantastic experience, because you get the New York experience and you get the European. It's super, super fun to do that.
I would be interested to see how many Europeans come over and go to the West Coast to go on, or if that's just going to be a very American.
It will be interesting to see that mix. That's probably why they're doing a small ship now, until they really know the mix of it. So that's kind of what I had listed. Let's talk a little bit about the things that maybe aren't as good now that they've Americanized. You want me to start?
Well, can I just say...
Yeah.
The very worst thing as they get more American.
What?
The lack of steampunk Humpty Dumpty.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen steampunk Humpty Dumpty since our very first MSC
Their
Cruise.
Entertainment has changed. It used to all be
every
fun,
show was
crazy, wild, like a Cirque kind of show, but didn't really make sense. It probably made sense to somebody.
It was baffling in the most awesome way possible.
And then so many people said, we don't like that. Yeah. We want people to stand on the stage and sing.
We're sorry if that was you. We just made fun of you, but you deserve it if you did that.
So now
I'm just kidding.
They'll have a lot of just regular shows, which are okay. They mix in. Yeah. Then there's usually only like one kind of fun show. So their entertainment has hugely been affected.
Yeah. And I think that is probably the most disappointing thing to me, because I just remember that very first cruise we were on. We're like, what did we fall into? Like, freaking weird thing is going to happen at the show tonight.
Yeah, we were excited.
What is going to blow my mind?
We were excited to go to each and every show. And now I don't find that. Like, when you read the description, you're like, oh, they're going to sing Broadway hits. Like, maybe we'll find something else to do, you know?
Well, hopefully, like, one of their Broadway hits is like The Farmer in the Dell. They'll throw something like that, and they always do that. It's always something completely inappropriate song, even though they say it's Broadway hits. It's you know.
So I agree. I think that there's a level of creativity that has changed in their entertainment for sure. I had that. I think that the food has changed a little bit. I think we were completely floored when we were on the seashore. I think it was a little bit more interesting menu, more options, a lot. There were some.
It was very Mediterranean.
There was like punches of flavor. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone. And I just remember like every single meal, like being excited about looking at the menu and seeing. And I think even though their food still remains good, they've lost that because they have catered to what Americans want to eat. And there's fried chicken on the menu. There's barbecue on the menu. There's chicken, salmon. Like they didn't have that like everyday chicken, salmon, steak kind of thing that now they do. So I do miss that. Whoa, what are we going to get? How's it going to taste? You know, their bread, however, has not changed. Their bread is wonderful.
And their pizza hasn't changed.
Wonderful.
Although
we're seeing a little bit of change to that, and we're not going to say that that's bad yet until we know for sure.
They stuck something on the buffet on, I don't remember what cruise it was. Maybe our second time on the seashore. I don't remember. Anyway,
it's all blends.
Maybe Magnifica. I don't know.
No.
One of those.
One of those.
That was like a puffy piece of fluff bread and stuck some.
That was seashore. The second, yeah.
And they called Detroit it pizza, style. And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Mr. MSC turning over in his grave, even though he's not in his grave. Finding out that they called that pizza when they have the best pizza at sea.
So MSC needs to everything does not need to be American. And so it'll be interesting to see on the World America if they've gone completely Americanized or they're still going to keep that European flair. We'll bring you all the details, I'm sure.
Yeah. They have grown over the last 15 years, but really accelerated over the last 3 years to really try to be a more American flavor to their ships over here. Don't know about Europe.
No, they're probably haven't done much.
Probably not company wide.
Yeah.
But they've really done that. So I think that leads to a little less hate online for people because it feels a little bit more like the other cruise lines. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that the hate is going down because as people experience MSC, they're like, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. This is not what I've been led to believe.
Exactly.
MSC is.
And I think that they made a really smart choice when they did the commercial for the Super Bowl. I think picking Drew Barrymore, which very obvious choice as she is the godmother of Sophia Loren, which is the godmother of 22 of their ships.
She's the goddaughter.
What did I say? Godmother. Goddaughter. So, and I think Drew Barrymore, as every American knows her, every American can relate to her. Most Americans like her. So, and then using
we've had her over for dinner.
I think that was a smart move because it's making people more and more familiar with the MSC product. So now they're advertising all across the country instead of just this little bit of the East Coast that they used to.
Right.
You know? So more and more aware, they're bringing those kind of spokespeople that people are like, oh, okay, you know, and you all already start to feel that connection. If you like Drew Barrymore and she I know it's advertising, but still people connect to that, you know.
Exactly. That's what celebrity spokespeople do.
Yeah.
You connect to that celebrity spokesperson.
And I think this is almost like an Oasis class ship, the World America. So it's going to probably feel a little familiar to some people, kind of that same shape, you know, and that lends itself to more people enjoying it right away and it not being like, honestly, the Seaside class is like the weirdest layout ship. Like it takes you 3 days to figure out how to get around the ship. So this is going to be, I'm looking forward to. So I think that a lot of the hate has gone down, but there's still some people who put videos out about a horrible time.
That's always going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never get rid of 100%.
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, people have different tastes too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
that's what I had
I'm
on
glad
my
to
notes.
see it dropping tremendously, and MSC getting the reviews that it should get.
Right.
They're way more fair, and people realizing that they do some things really well.
Yeah.
So
they still have not fixed what we call shoreside. So shoreside is this is my last thing. Land side. It's when you're needing to call if you have a special request or need information. The call center is not always helpful. Depends on who you get. If you have a problem, it's not easy sometimes to resolve it. Sometimes your loyalty doesn't get counted and it's multiple emails. So there's still a struggle. I know they're working on it, but the whole thing around the reservation can still be difficult if there's anything out of the usual.
They never should have put their 14-year-old cousin in charge of all that. He's very talented with the computer. He can find websites for people when they can't find them and reset phones. But he probably shouldn't have been in charge of all.
Probably not. But that's kind of what I had on my list. Good, bad. So what do you guys think? Did you cruise MSC early on? Have you seen the change? Have you, felt the change as it kind of has Americanized, quote unquote? So let us know what you think.
Do you still have that hate in your heart? If you do, why are you watching an MSC Cruise cast?
Maybe to get the hate out.
Oh, that's it.
The hate out. I think that wraps up what we're going to talk about. So as always, it's less than a month before the inaugural World America, which we have so many plans. We're so excited.
I can't wait. 2 years we've been waiting for this.
But also it's been 6 months since we've been on a vacation because we took our anniversary trip early. And then when we normally would have cruised in February. Life fell apart. Then we normally would have cruised in February.
Asheville fell apart.
But we pushed it because we're going to do the World America. Yep. So it has been a long time since we've been on a ship. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think you guys are really going to like that when that series comes out. So,
yeah. So make sure you are subscribed and you have your notification bell on. And I don't know what else.
Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.